Hello, I'm Leonard Nimoy. In many ways, 1964 marked the turbulent beginning of a counterculture in the U.S. It was amplified by the arrival of a new and relatively unknown rock group from England, and they were, of course, the Beatles. They captivated America and the world, beginning with their first hit, Hard Day's Night. Also, in 1964, the new freedoms in fashion resulted in a scandalous miniskirt, a girl watcher's fantasy. Elsewhere in this year, Nicolas Cage was born, and in sports, Michigan was the winner in the Rose Bowl. And with that, we move on to the 1964 episode of Our 20th Century.
There are rumors around that this is Britain's revenge for the Boston Tea Party. 3,000 screaming teenagers are at New York's Kennedy Airport to greet, you guessed it, the Beatles. This rock and roll group has taken over as the kingpins of musical appreciation among the younger element. Some music critics call their harmony unmistakably diatonic. Others say it's pandiatomic. Parents say it's just plain pandemonium. Their first meeting with the American press brings forth an interview laced with quips and humor. You'd laugh, too, with a gross of $17 million last year. New York City cops are hard-pressed protecting the Beatles at their hotel. On every side, there is hero worship that recalls the heydays of Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra. With one Beatle bedded with a sore throat, 3 of the quartet take an airing in Central Park. There was absolutely no truth to the rumor that the zoo's laughing hyena was driven underground. Hollywood's big night. For the 36th time, the world's amusement capital recognizes the year's top artists and achievements with the bestowal of the coveted Oscars. Gregory Peck names the Best Actress.
Patricia Neal.
Annabella accepts for Patricia Neal, who is in London. It's a triumph for Miss Neal, who was awakened in the night to hear the good news. Then the crowd hears Frank Sinatra announce the Best Picture.
Tom Jones, Tony Richardson.
David Pickars accepts for Tony Richardson, who is also in England. A dramatic moment, Anne Bancroft names the Best Actor of the Year.
The winner is Sidney Poitier.
Mr. Poitier is the first Negro to win such a high award, and the announcement is received warmly by the audience. The winner is choked with emotion.
It is a long journey to this moment. I am naturally indebted to countless numbers of people. For all of them, all I can say is a very special thank you.
Soaring 12 stories above the New York World's Fair, the stainless steel Unisphere makes its official debut as symbol of the most ambitious exposition that man has ever attempted. Set in 646 acres, the billion-dollar show opens its doors to an expected 70 million people. Already, 29 million tickets have been sold. Opening day rain cut the number of visitors drastically, only 92,000 against an expected 250,000. But it's only the beginning, folks. It's only the beginning.
1964 was a year that saw the rise and fall of national leaders around the world. Once again, the strength of democratic processes was demonstrated in the United States as the Republicans and the Democrats fought it out for the presidency. Mr. Johnson was thrust into office through the tragedy in Dallas. Now he sought to become president in his own right. And he was opposed by Republican Barry Goldwater in a hot and heavy political campaign. The loudest voice of all was the quiet American voter. When the ballots were counted, President Johnson had a plurality of 16 million, and a landslide vote returned him to office with Hubert Humphrey as his vice president. A bright chapter in the course of human events was written with the passage of the Civil Rights Bill. It was an historic occasion that Lincoln's dream of equality came to fruition at the White House as President Johnson signed it into law just a few hours after the House had approved the measure. Before a distinguished audience of legislators and civil rights leaders, President Johnson affixes his signature using more than 100 pens. One of the coveted souvenirs goes to the Nobel Prize winner, Martin Luther King, a dedicated leader of his race. Alaska was shaken by the greatest earthquake ever recorded on the North American continent. Great crevasses opened in the earth and literally swallowed everything. Property damage exceeded $500 million. The Alaskan pioneers quickly rebuilt. The Indianapolis Speedway and the 48th running of the famed 500. 33 cars start in the classic with tragedy behind the wheel from the start. As they come into the straightaway on the second lap, Dave McDonald loses control of his juggernaut and spins into the wall. It starts a chain reaction as others pile up. 7 cars are involved. Blinded by smoke and flames, Eddie Sachs smashes into McDonald and is killed. McDonald dies later in the hospital. Ronnie Duman scrambles over the infield wall, badly burned but alive. The race is halted for an hour and 45 minutes before the track is cleared. And the first to cross is A.J. Foyt with an average of 147 miles an hour, new record time.